Hey guys, it's Krist back again with my February pickups video update. Not too many games this time, but I do have some cool stuff to show, so I hope you enjoy. First off, I'll start with kind of a semi-gaming related item, and that is my new Soldering Iron Kit. Basically be using this to repair, game consoles if I need to change capacitors, changing save batteries in game cartridges. I've done that. I've gotten that done, I should say, from I think someone on Nintendo Age. Yeah, I believe did a repair for me on my Earthbound cart, my Super Metroid cart, Super Mario RPG, stuff like that. So you have to desolder the battery clip holding the save battery in the cart, and you can replace it with easy to exchange battery clips. Normally the battery is just soldered into the board, but yeah, you can replace it with these little clips that let you just open up the cart, pop the battery out, put a new one in. So I'd like to do that in the future, so I'm going to learn to solder. I'll probably just watch some YouTube tutorials and test it out. And the first thing I'm going to test it on is probably this, the N64 Rumble Pack. Now, I read about a mod you can do on this, so you no longer have to use batteries. Basically, you desolder a wire going from the battery compartment to the board, and you kind of solder it to another part of the board, and that makes it so it draws power from the controller port itself. So then you can use this without batteries, and from what I've read, people claim that it actually makes the Rumble stronger because it's drawing more power from the controller port. However, you cannot use more than 2 of these modified ones in a N64 at once because the ports can't handle more power draw than that. So apparently, I don't know if this is true, but N64 demo units back in the day that had the Rumble Packs, Nintendo actually sent out modified Rumble Packs that didn't need battery power. So most likely they did the same mod on these for the demo units, so retailers didn't have to change the batteries all the time with people, playing the demo units all the time. So that's what really prompted me to get the soldering kit. That and, there's a lot of different stuff I could do. I could, change capacitors on game consoles. I could do repairs if something fries, whatever. I could change the system battery in the Dreamcast, which is a rechargeable battery for keeping the date and time. And I removed the capacitor from my Xbox original, which holds the date and time, because it leaked all over the Xbox motherboard. So I guess you can get a super capacitor, they call it, and solder that in, and then you can keep the date and time without the risk of it leaking. But yeah, it should be cool to do that with the Rumble Pack. I actually have this Rumble Pack from Intech, and on the back is a little switch where you can use this for both memory saving and rumble. Just switch it back and forth. However, this is actually a little weaker than the official one. I tested them both, and the official one's definitely a stronger rumble, so it'll be cool to mod this. So I'm looking forward to learning to solder. It's going to be a good skill to have anyways. Okay, and speaking of mods, this isn't really a pickup, but it's kind of a pickup, I guess. I've already owned this, the Action Replay Plus for Dreamcast, for Saturn. And this was normally, to play games, to make it region free. It's a memory, it's a RAM expansion for, Capcom fighters that need more RAM. And it also functions as a save backup. But I modified this you can burn a disk, which lets you install custom firmware onto this. And you have to do the disk swap trick, which is slightly a pain. I had to open up my Saturn, tape the door closing sensor back so it thought the door was closed when it's open. You start up an official disk, and as soon as it starts spinning up, you pop it off, you put on the firmware disk, and if you do it right, which took me a lot of tries, and it boots up and you can put the custom firmware on this, which allows it to run backup games. Yes, so now I can run CDR burned games on my Saturn. Granted, I love collecting for the Saturn. You can see them all back there. So I still want to collect a few more Saturn games. Bug 2, Clockwork Knight 2. I don't know. There's a couple more I can't really think of, but mainly I wanted to be able to play backups because there are English translated ISOs such as I almost said Shining Force 3, Scenario 2 and 3, which never came to the US but have English fan translations. Recently, the survival horror game Deep Fear, which only got a European and Japanese release, that got leaked. The US version of it that was pretty much complete. Yeah, I don't see anything that's not complete. And yeah, so the reason to play that over the European version, which is in English, the US version is optimized for 60 hertz displays, whereas the PAL region version is 50 hertz, so it has slowdown, it has, I believe, black borders or some sort of, garbage at the bottom of the screen. So I do have Deep Fear on the Japanese version, but it is in English, but all the text is kind of a mismatch of English and Japanese. So it's very cool to have this modified now so I can play a CD backup of Deep Fear, the real US version. And yeah, it's very playable. I tried it out. I tried out the very expensive Shinobi X European version, which is, God, it's probably $200, $300 at this point. So yeah, it's very cool that you can do this. I would like to eventually get one of these carts that has a SD card slot on the top, and then I don't have to wear out my CD drive. So it's really great method for preserving games and preserving your console. If you want to try out this mod, it's called Pseudo Saturn Kai, K-A-I, and you can use this action replay. You can use one of those third-party memory cards. I forget what it's called. There's kind of a memory card plus, it's called. You can use that. But the nice thing about using this, even though you lose the cheat functionality and the save game backup functionality, you can load your CDRs, but you can still use the 4 megabyte or 1 megabyte RAM expansion on here for those, Japanese fighting games. So yeah, and if you're worried about, losing the functionality of this, the Pseudo Saturn Kai firmware disks lets you revert back to the Action Replay Plus firmware. But I don't see any reason of going back, and I guess future versions of Pseudo Saturn Kai will have cheat support. So really the only thing you lose is the save backup support, but I have a official Saturn memory card, so I just use that to back up saves. So anyways, that's enough ranting about this. Very cool. Check out Pseudo Saturn Kai. It's a great way to preserve your Saturn and to open up more games to play. Okay, so that's enough rambling. 10 minutes in. I'm going to show you the actual game pickups now. I'll start with the oldest game, and this I found at Goodwill. It's nothing too special, and the price I paid was about the going rate, and that's Dr. Mario on NES. Now this is one of the puzzle games I feel like doesn't really age. It's still fun today, and I paid $4 for it, I believe, which is about the going rate on eBay, sometimes slightly more, but it's about the going rate. But yeah, it's very cool that I found this. You don't see a lot of good NES games at Goodwill. Usually like it's something really crappy, or Super Mario Brothers, something really common, though this is common too, but not as common. So yeah, that's cool. And then these I also found at Goodwill, and one of them I was really looking for, and I almost bought on eBay for a lot more, and that is Area 51 for Xbox Original. Now this is a sort of sequel or reimagining of the Midway, or yeah, I think it was Midway arcade game, light gun shooter. But yeah, this is a first-person shooter. It's very Halo-like. It's very cool, though. It has David Duchovny as the narrator of the main character. Marilyn Manson is in it as one of the aliens, and Powers Booth. I'm not too sure who he is, but the name sounds familiar. But it's actually a very cool game, really well done. Like, playing it nowadays, I'm like, wow, I'm surprised. I thought it was like a, kind of a shovelware game back in the day, but it's actually really good. Yeah, I found this for probably $4. They had a bunch of other Xbox original games, but the condition was just not to my liking, so I skipped out on those, even though they had Soldier of Fortune 2 on Xbox, which I really want, but the disc was scratched up, the case was cracked, the label was ripped. I was just like, nah, that's okay. It wasn't that great of a price anyways. And then I also got this, which wasn't super excited about, Enter the Matrix. I actually have the PS2 version of this. But, I love the Matrix, and I want to get all the games, so I still got to get Path of Neo. But, the PS2 version doesn't look quite as good as this Xbox version, so I figured I'd pick it up. And it was in really good condition, so yeah, it's not that great of a game, though, to be honest. It aged pretty bad, but, it has like new footage, new film footage by some of the actors, so I just want it for, my Matrix collection. Although, ironically, I don't have the Matrix films on DVD or Blu-ray yet, so I don't know. I don't really buy movies much. But, alright, so next we got a last generation game. And this is one I've been thinking of picking up for a while and finally decided to. That is Yakuza 4 for PS3. I've recently got into the Yakuza series. I got Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami. And, I'm going to be getting Yakuza 6. I think it got delayed till March or April. I think it got delayed till April. So I figured I'd catch up on some of the games. Unfortunately, Yakuza 5 is only available digitally in the US, so I don't know. And Yakuza 3, the US version, is severely butchered by censorship as far as I know. So really, this is the only other physical one I'm going to buy, and I guess it's a really good one, and it kind of stands alone, even though the story is kind of interconnected, but you can play this supposedly and have a good time. But yeah, I'll be getting Yakuza Kiwami 2, and I might get Yakuza 2 on PS2, because supposedly Yakuza Kiwami 2 has some stuff cut out of it from the original Yakuza 2. So yeah, hoping Yakuza 3 gets a PS4 release with all the censorship put back in, everything that was censored put back in, and Yakuza 5 gets a physical PS4 release. So yeah, it's kind of a hard series to collect for because it's got such an inconsistent release in the US. But you know, this is supposedly a really good game. I probably paid too much. I paid like $40 for this, but it's a good game. I played maybe about 2 or 3 hours of it, and yeah, it's awesome. All the Yakuza games are pretty awesome. Okay, and one I picked up on sale for $13, I believe, at Best Buy, and that is Raymond Legends Definitive Edition. And it's not quite definitive. It's definitive in terms of content. It has all the content on the cartridge, but it does have some longer load times than all the other versions, which apparently was because they compressed the game so that the download on the Nintendo Switch would be smaller, which sucks because that doesn't matter when it's a cartridge. They could have put the full game on here and had the normal uncompressed load times. But, you know, they got to appeal to the digital only. Yeah. So, as usual, us physical buyers have to suffer because of the digital age. But for $13, it's a good game. I mean, the load times are, you know, 8 to 10 seconds rather than 2 to 3 seconds, or instantaneous as they were on PS4. But it's not too bad. It's a good game. It's nice to play portable, and it's got all the content from every version of the game. So that's very cool. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they had to compress the game just to appeal to digital downloaders, and then screwed up the physical copy because of that. Okay, final game. I told you I didn't have a lot. It's still kind of a long video because I was rambling. But this is one I grabbed today, and the game I was waiting to do this video for. And that is Secret of Mana, or Mana, however you want to say it, for PS4. This is the 3D remake. It has kind of mobile-looking graphics. I believe it's on the same engine as the Adventure of Mana mobile remake. The graphics look very similar. I didn't mind that art style, though, to be honest. It's just kind of, you know, PS2 looking graphics, but, you know, in HD, 60 frames a second. And, you know, I never actually got to play Secret of Mana for Super Nintendo. I don't know, I didn't have a Super Nintendo back in the day, and then I never bothered playing it on emulator. But I remember back in the day, I was really wanting Final Fantasy Adventure, which was actually the first Secret of Mana game. I would look at the screenshots and the articles about it in Nintendo Power, and I just read it over and over. I think I read the walkthrough of Final Fantasy Adventure over and over. That's how I would kind of play games back in the day as a kid, because my family was poor and we couldn't afford games. So I would just read walkthroughs in magazines and just try to imagine how the game was. So I always wanted Final Fantasy Adventure on Game Boy. Didn't have a Game Boy for the longest time, so I never got to play it. But finally I did get into the series with Sword of Mana, which is a remake of Final Fantasy Adventure. Very different, though. And then I also got, which one did I get? I got the Dawn of Mana on PS2. I got Children of Mana on DS, which is okay. And then I played a little of Adventure of Mana on Android Mobile, which is a more direct remake of Final Fantasy Adventure, compared to Sword of Mana on Game Boy Advance, which is more of a reimagining with a fleshed out story. Adventure of Mana on mobile is really just a straight port of Final Fantasy Adventure with 3D graphics, and it's the same engine as this game. So a lot of people are complaining about the graphics in this. It doesn't really bother me, probably because I'm used to PS2 graphics. I guess the price could have been lower, but it's a legendary game, so I don't mind that much considering how much I'd have to pay for the SNES version. So it's cool. I just hope that they release the Secret of Mana. I don't know how to pronounce the Japanese name for it. There's a Secret of Mana collection in Japan for the Nintendo Switch, and that has Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Secret of Mana 3, Seiken Dexu, whatever, however you say it, 3. So we never got the third game in the series in the US on Super Nintendo. So hopefully that Nintendo Switch collection comes to the US. I believe Square Enix lightly mentioned that they'd be interested in bringing it over, but I'll believe it when I see it. But anyways, I'm going to give this a try because I'm really been looking forward to this. I've always wanted to try this game, and although it isn't the exact port of the SNES version, I think it'll be pretty cool. But yeah, maybe I'll try the SNES version on the Wii Virtual Console or on my mobile phone. But hopefully that Nintendo Switch collection comes out, because that would be awesome. Anyways, that's it for my pickups. Sorry this was a little bit long-winded, but you know, I gotta kind of talk to fill out the video when I don't have that many pickups. But yeah, some cool stuff. I'm looking forward to digging into this all. Looking forward to doing some solder work. Other than that, not much going on. It's finally warming up here in Wisconsin. By warming up, I mean like 25 to high 30s degrees rather than below 0. So I've been dieting again. And the past 2 days I've been working out, you know, doing resistance workouts, cardio, you know, walking and jogging outside, which I don't like to do when it's below 20 degrees because while my body warms up from doing that, my face, I just can't stand that feeling of getting frostbite. So I haven't been walking, but you know, I started back up. It's warm enough. As long as it's above 25 degrees, you know, I will go for my walk, go for my jog. And I'm dieting, you know. I gained 10 pounds over the winter, but now I've lost that 10 pounds already. So I'm looking forward to the spring. I'm going to get back on the workout hardcore from here on out. I'm dieting, hardcore, keto diet, fasting. So here's hoping I can get below 200 pounds and then start weight training, build up my muscles. That's the goal. Build up my muscles, build up my income, hopefully, and find a wife. That would be nice, but we shall see if that happens. With the state of women nowadays, it's pretty abysmal, but there's got to be some good women out there still. Feminism must not have ruined all of them. So yeah, anyways, that's what's going on with my life and my pickups as usual. Let me know if you guys want to see me like live stream any of these games. I might do some Secret of Mana. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not too motivated to live stream because I don't get a lot of viewers on there. But if people want to watch it, I will definitely do it. And as always, my Patreon link is below. That would really help me out. Things are really tight right now, so any help would be appreciated as usual. But like I said before, you don't have to, but if you really want to help me out and help this channel grow, definitely support me on Patreon. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for the continued support. Alright, peace out everyone.